That's about it. That's the long and the short of it. It's like the Rangers are always in it. I think the Panthers are always in it. Uh-oh. We said we had special guest. And there he is, cracking one open.
Did I do a thing?
You did a Foley.
You did the...
All right, great. Here I am.
Hi, Gregory. Gregory Wyshynski, everybody. He joins us.
Hi, everybody.
He's from Puck Daddy, and he's also from a little show called Merrick vs. Wyshynski, which you can get periodically on the Sportsnet.ca network. How are you, sir?
I didn't shave today, so I just realized I probably look like a pale ass right now on the show.
No, that's what they call me. So you're fine.
I like the product placement, by the way.
That's actually, you know what that is? That is actually, by the way, I'm eating Parmesan tilapia and quinoa right now.
From McDonald's?
Can you guys hear each other, or am I just way off on audio?
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear Greg.
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah,
Hey, so the thing in back of me is actually a target from the shot accuracy competition at the All-Star game. It's a target that Jonathan Taves broke.
Nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You can see a little bit over, I don't know where my hand goes, over here, it's where the broken part is.
Okay.
He
I got
seriously
you.
hit that one.
He did. He whacked it.
It's nice. It's good. It's good. And it also looks like you used it to match the
Scotty,
room
you are
colors as well.
slightly...
What?
Yeah.
What?
Scotty is just slightly behind us.
Am I?
Yeah, you're just slightly behind us, Scotty, yeah.
I don't know.
So it'll even out here in a second. But Greg, how's life? We haven't seen you in a couple months now. Lots of hockey news to catch. No real hockey news to catch up on, really.
Mark, are you in rehab? The room behind you looks like you're in some sort of a high-end rehab facility.
I'll tell you, they treat me really good here. They let me bring my guitar. I brought Coors Light. So it's not the best rehab center because,
No.
I got contraband in. But
It seems completely, this is not that Sandra Bullock movie showed me how rough rehab can be, but it looks like they're treating you quite well there. That's good to know.
Is that the one where she gets her identity stolen on a disc? And she has to... Yeah, okay, all right.
She had to go to rehab because she clicked the pi sign in the bottom right corner of her screen. The greatest thing about the movie The Net, by the way, is that they had the audacity to name the character who we find out is the villain Devlin. Like, just call him Spooky McEvil.
I know, like Devlin.
It's the second worst example of foreshadowing with a name. The first being, of course, the Green Lantern Sinestro. Who, if you don't know Sinestro, you ain't paying attention.
It was a twist for me, so...
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean spoilers, everybody.
Yeah, we're breaking things all the time. It's great. But anyway, let's get to the matter at hand. What's the problem with these Buffalo Sabres jerseys? Why did they make this monstrosity happen? And go.
It's weird, right? Like I said on the post today, I put my faith into the Sabres that they had finally figured it out, that they weren't going to do this again, that they realized, okay, we have an amazing, iconic logo, and we have an amazing color scheme, and all we have to do is just keep the things looking the way they did when Alex McGillney and Pat LaFontaine played, and we'll be money. But instead they decided to do something stupid, and the result is what we saw today. I don't understand what this trend is around the league, where they're cleaning up their jerseys and making them look like practice jerseys. I have never seen a practice jersey and said to myself, that is a better looking sweater than what they wear on the ice during the game. And yet the Buffalo Sabres jersey looks almost exactly like their practice jersey, except uglier. They've managed to make a worse jersey than their practice jersey, which is tough to do.
Better or worse, that one or the San Jose Sharks' new duds?
That was the same symptom. It's the same thing. It's like they both kind of look like practice jerseys. This one's worse for a number of reasons. The first being that the Nashville Predators are the only team in the NHL that can get away with the gold jerseys. It works for them for some reason. It doesn't work for Buffalo. And I think it doesn't work for Buffalo because when you compare them to the other jerseys that they're going to wear, they look abjectly terrible. I mean, it's just such a law of diminishing returns there. But there's a lot of other problems with it. There's two different kinds of yellow on the jersey, which is weird. there is these gray accents on the bottoms of the sleeves, so it looks like every player was at the Mann's Chinese Theater putting their hands in concrete before they skated on the ice. The jersey appears to have lapels, which I guess is fine if you're going to go on Fox News and need a place to put your flag pin, but I don't necessarily know if it works for the hockey jersey. And just overall, the look is terrible. The font of the word Buffalo is terrible. And as I pointed out, like I really thought you could put that Sabres logo on anything and make it look better. Like I thought you could put that Sabres logo on Sloth from the Goonies and he'd look like George Clooney. It was nearly a rhyme. But that's not the case. It's because it's on this jersey, and this jersey looks like a steaming pile of corn poop.
So I think here's the problem, and I'm going to blame this on Baylor because, I want to. Or maybe we should go all the way back as far as Oregon. I mean, all of these jerseys that came out in college that were we're going to be the brightest, and if we're not the best team on the field, we're going to be the brightest team on the field. And then when Nike took over the NFL contracts, they changed the Seahawks jerseys to be that bright-ass neon green color.
Right.
And then now I feel like the Sharks are making the brightest teal they can possibly get to, and now the Sabres are just going to be like, well, if everybody else is bright colors, let's see if we can sell more jerseys by doing this too.
Well, yeah. They're like, well, let's sell more jerseys because that's what they do. I mean, like every 4 years, I think they have to. Like the Sabres jerseys changing, it's like cicada bugs. They just come back every few years, and that's how it works. But your point on the trend is true, and I think what it is actually it's teams taking their accent colors. In the case of the Seahawks, that was an accent color to their normal jerseys, and then bringing that to the forefront like that's supposed to be a good look, and it's a terrible look. I mean, the Sabres are a team with a very distinct color scheme that works for them, and by turning that thing inside out, it throws the whole thing off balance, and it makes it look terrible.
And I also like to put a point of order. The Charlotte Hornets, I think, were the first team to really get bright and loud with Grandmama and such. So there's that as well.
Muggsy Bogues.
That's true.
Hold on. Who's going to take me on and name the Hornets players? Who's going to take me on
Rex
right now?
Chapman.
Hold on. Here we go. All right.
Muggsy Bogues.
Me and you, Woz. Ready? Okay. You say Rex Chapman. We have Muggsy Bogues. We'll go around all three of us. My turn now.
Yeah.
Kelly Tripucka.
Oof.
Woz?
There was a Serbian guy there. I can't remember his damn name anymore.
Did you already said Alonzo? Was Alonzo on that team? You already said him though, right?
Yes, we had Alonzo Mourning and Larry Johnson are off the board. I have to pass. I can't name that in Charlotte.
I don't know if I got another Hornet in me. I played enough NBA Jam, but I think there are only 5 guys on NBA Jam.
Are we all stuck for another Hornet? Because I don't think I can remember anybody either.
Was there another white guy?
I'm sure there was. Back then, they were rampant in the league. These days, they're only the only white guys we got are the Europeans.
You're thinking of like a Kiki Vandeweghe type, but I don't know if he was ever a Hornet.
No, I think he's some California dude with well-coiffed hair and came off the bench for 13 in the fourth.
I want to say that he had Van in the middle of his name too.
Was it Van?
like a Keith Van Horn kind of guy?
No, he was all Nets everything. That's Greg's wheelhouse right there.
It was James Van Riemsdyk.
Oh my God. Segues us to a perfect thing. He was there just representing Rhode Island there at the U.S. camp, the Comic-Con. The U.S. Comic-Con, I'll call it, because that seemed to be all it was, just pomp and circumstance. Do you think obviously with the insurance being as it is, do you think ball hockey would have been a great alternative as Canada did?
I think the Americans were really kind of pissed off at the ingenuity of that. I don't think that it really did anything. As far as preparation goes, but I think they were a little cheesed off by the ingenuity because they had a prepared line the next day about how playing ball hockey actually sets you back versus helps you out, and they were all using the same joke. So I imagine it was, Dan Bilesmer or somebody standing in front of the room and saying it, and everybody just kind of jotted it down in their little notepads.
Well, I think the reason is that Carlos Mencia was also there, and he was lines.
So the U.S. camp was what it was. It was a meet and greet. It was a get to know you. It was a chance for everybody to kind of meet the media and make their presence known, and it was a chance for the younger players to get kind of involved in the process and feel like they're part of the team. which speaks to two things. The first thing is that I have to give credit to USA Hockey because not only did every player talk for a really long time to the media that was at this camp, but they also were selling it, and like guys like Phil Kessel were like shooing away the communications guys and saying like, no, I want to talk more, and that's Phil Kessel. The other thing I was sort of just generally impressed by was the fact that, you know, the younger players are going to be so key to this process. And what the U.S. team has now that they didn't have in 2010 is a clique. You know, there's a group of players that kind of came together with that team, played for a gold medal, ushered in a new generation of American Olympian, and said goodbye to the Madanos and all those guys, and Garins and all those guys. So now this is their team. And so I think the more you can get the younger players involved in the process, like there's a slew of young defensemen that could make this team, the better it's going to be. Because the last thing you want is there to be locker room division between the Parise, Bacchus group that's there now and any younger players that are on the team. Because I think that's what kind of hurt the U.S. in previous seasons, when the veteran guys would be kind of pricks to the younger players.
Yeah, Galchenyuk is totally X-Pac in that clique. I think you're right.
Does Ryan Miller make this team?
When I went to camp, I'd say no. But the more I think about it, I'd say yes, contingent on him playing well in the first 3 months of the season. Like that's going to be that's the key for a lot of these guys, but for Miller in particular, they're going to really look at the first 3 months of the season. They're going to compare it to how the other goaltenders in the mix are playing. And if he's playing well, I think there's a very good chance he makes the team. And the reason being is that, you know, God forbid Jonathan Quick, assuming he's the starter, falters against Slovakia. You know, gives up 4 goals. What do you do then? I mean, do you turn to Jimmy Howard, Corey Schneider, or do you turn to the guy who got you to the gold medal game last time? And I think there's a mindset that it's good to have a veteran guy on that roster in case it all goes sideways on you, and Miller's that guy. But he's going to have to play well. I mean, he's clearly not in the upper echelon of goalies. I think he's behind at least 4 guys that are in contention for the U.S. gig. But the last time he played for a job, he won, I think it was 16 out of 22 games. And so he knows when he needs to play well, he can play well. And people forget back in 2009, Tim Thomas was getting as much love as Ryan Miller for U.S. starter, and sometimes even more when people looked at the way Thomas played and said, in an Olympic tournament with crazy action, wouldn't it be great to have, you know, Tea Party Hasek back there stopping pucks? And Miller completely outplayed him and stole the job, and Thomas only ended up playing 10 minutes, I think, in the tournament.
And look where he's at now, a bunker waiting for a job.
Technically, you know, still, or is he a free agent now, or is he still Islanders property?
He's a free agent now.
Yeah, well,
free to be you and me. But unfortunately for him, and unfortunately for almost every other goalie out there, there are no jobs. There are just no jobs for any of these guys. And
I haven't gotten any calls, so.
Yeah,
I tell you what. 10 years ago, man, we had jobs, we had hope, we had cash, and that. Wait, what? Hold on a second. That's not how it goes.
What is it? And just to touch on this one more time before we branch off to something else on the U.S. team. What is it with Americans and goaltending? Because I'm a soccer fan, and the only export that we've ever had that was relevant to the rest of the world as far as soccer is concerned is goaltending.
It's true.
And now the U.S. hockey goaltending seems to be approaching that level of Finland, where Finland used to have all of the hot hockey goalies in Kiprusoff and Antiniemi, and I can't think
Pekka
of Pekka Rinne, yeah, and then the Swedes, obviously, all the Nordic countries, they got Jesus.
You're the worst ever.
I'm the worst as far as research. Everybody knows I'm bad at research.
This is kind of
in any case,
this guy on the Rangers was pretty good.
That guy Lundqvist. That's what I was trying to think of as far as research is concerned. But now, John Quick is coming along. Jimmy Howard is coming along. You think there's going to be a changing of the guards here as far as the goaltending in the NHL is concerned?
I think there already has, and insofar as the rivalry between the U.S. and Canada. I mean, you look at the Canadian goaltending situation, and I really feel like if there was a way that they could trade Steven Stamkos for one of our goalies, they'd do it. Based on the situation that they have up there behind Luongo. So I think in that aspect, there's already been changing of the guard. But one of the interesting topics of conversation at the U.S. camp was how cyclical the process is for Olympians and for American athletes coming through the system. Because back in the 1990s, the U.S. was a center factory. Roenick and Modano, and you throw Tkachuk in there, and some other guy, LaFontaine before them. I mean, they had a lot of really great centermen come through. And now you look at the team, and they're searching for a playmaker. Like, there's not one pure playmaking center on that roster right now that you can say with confidence is going to be going to Sochi. So that one of the theories is that for whatever reason, during the development process, players that come up playing center, as most really good players do when they're kids, are all getting shifted to the wing. And so you got guys like Patrick Kane, who played center coming up, get shifted to the wing, flourish there, and then when they're in the NHL, it's like, who here can play center? You, back there with the mullet. And then, it's like, and then they go back to center for a little bit. So there's this notion that an entire generation of American player has sort of fallen by the wayside as far as guys that are elite centermen, and we're stuck with, the Backus and Kessel Kessler rather, and players like that up the gut when we should have, Eric Stahl, Steven Stamkos, Sidney Crosby, those guys.
It's a grind game. Everyone likes the grinder, so why not put all the grinders up the middle? That doesn't make a damn bit of sense, but, we'll go with it. Your biggest takeaway of this offseason, best offseason ever, as I like to dub it. Your thoughts on what the biggest, conundrum came about from this just everlasting, endless summer.
I know what mine is, but go ahead, Greg.
I know what mine is, too.
Greg, fire.
All of a sudden your best player can retire and then go play somewhere else.
Well, that's obviously yours.
No, but beyond that, though, it's like it's amazing to me that people, after all these years of Lou Lamoriello being like the smoothest operator, the guy 5 steps ahead of everybody else, the guy you have to change the rules for because he finds so many loopholes, like all of a sudden we're buying everything at face with this guy. Like, let's see here. Ilya Kovalchuk decides to retire. The Devils don't have any responsibility for that contract, pretty much. Or I should say, the penalty that they suffer now is much less than it would have been had he retired later on in his contract, okay? So they get a benefit there. His contract comes off the books insofar as a money paid out thing. And then, 2 weeks later, they have new owners. And then it's like, everybody's just like, oh, he lost his smile. He wanted to go play back home. Really? So the fact that the $100 million contract came off the books at a time when 2 billionaires are trying to buy the team, those things don't connect in the minds of anybody? Like, I feel like I'm talking about the friggin' Roswell crash here, like a black helicopter theory. Why am I the idiot? But this is pretty obvious to anybody, isn't it? That the one thing's related to the other?
I would think so. That or he just wanted to go to Russia to learn how to super kick better. I don't know.
It's possible. But the thing about Kovalchuk, the surprise for me was that he left so early. I mean, the contract, much like Brizgalov's, was clearly structured for him to go to the KHL eventually. Like, his contract goes from $8 million down to 4, down to 1, down to he's washing dishes at an Applebee's. Like, that's where the salary goes. And you're like, well, we can kind of see when he's going to be leaving. But I didn't expect it to happen this early, and there's a part of me that believes that he decided to do this when he went over to Russia during the lockout, got disenchanted with the NHL, wanted to stay there, be the big fish in a small pond. But I also think that the Devils were open to the idea to the point where this guy, who is by far their best offensive player and by far the most important player on the team outside of the goaltenders, is allowed to leave with no fight, and just no fight at all. Like, and it's stunning that happened. Like, there was no. They could have made life hell for him. They could have made him play in the NHL, but they said, go with God, Ilya.
Is this the sort of thing that the NHLPA would have fought on Kovalchuk's side for, to if he wants to retire and go play somewhere else, that we sort of have to be on his side on that one? Because it seems kind of counterintuitive for the NHLPA to want one of their best players to leave, but at the same time, if that's what he wants to do, then don't they have to support him in that?
I think they would, and I also think that it's leverage. Like, there's so few things that a player can hold over his team as far as, like, what he's able to do. And you look at the Luongo situation with Vancouver and him, crying at his beer about not being able to quit his contract because he'd have to go on waivers. There's so few things that a player can do to take the advantage away from his team that I think it's something that the NHLPA would probably leave. They would leave that arrow in the quiver just so those players would have it.
And Mr. Mark, your song of the summer?
My biggest thing of the summer, and thank God it's only taken, 12 years. How long has it been since we started doing this show?
12 years.
13 seasons. That the Phoenix Coyotes have now been sold and are staying firm in Glendale. Oh, sorry. Nope.
What?
They're not the Phoenix Coyotes anymore. They're the Arizona Coyotes now.
Yeah.
So at least they're staying put where they are, and we can finally stop talking about who is going to buy them or what's going to happen to this team or Seattle or Kansas City, at least until Gary Bettman decides that it's time to expand.
Well, at least for another 5 years. And then when the 5-year threshold happens and they realize, oh, we're in the red again, it could be Bon Voyage, El Coyote. I don't know what that means.
I think they're Phoenix for one more year, and then they become Arizona. From what I remember,
that is correct.
I think that's the case. Yeah, the 5-year window of departure was something I was quick to point out when this thing got done, and took copious amounts of shit for it from Coyotes fans, because that's just how. Anytime you write about the Coyotes, you're going to get that, because they have an amazing inferiority complex, and I say that as a Devils fan, so I got to. But it's like there were other offers during this process that promised not to have an out clause. And again, it's the only. I've consistently said this about Phoenix. I think it's a market that can work. And I think it's a market that we don't know definitively whether or not it can work, because we've not seen a team there with any semblance of stability for the last several years when they've been good. Like, if you put a team there with a 30-year lease that made the playoffs as much as they've made it under Dave Tippett, maybe that's a team that draws and builds a fan base, and fans who lived and died during that run to the conference final come back the next year and are like, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Coyotes fan. But when you come back with with the opportunity to leave in 5 years, depending on the losses that you incur, and NHL owners are constantly finding new and inventive ways to cook the books so they'll have those losses. It's not stability. It's still a cloud looming over the franchise. Not the same giant monsoon-sized cloud that was there when the NHL owned the team, but without question, it's still kind of looming that something could happen and they could have to leave.
It's a fun time in Arizona, just for the fact that everyone starts complaining about, but wait a minute, they're not technically in Phoenix, they're in Glendale. It takes them so far to get from there to there, and then I'm like, that's fine. If those people showed up as much as they in the arena as they did shit-talking blog commentaries, then they'd be fantastic. But now, not so much.
Well, it's also, I just realized my TV is on, by the way.
Don't worry about it.
There it is. Because I had TV glow on the side of my face. I was watching the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen before you guys came in. So
you were just prepping for us, I guess.
Yes. Dorian Gray and Tom Sawyer right here in front of me. Who knew?
But I feel like part of the reason why, and we're talking about the fan base and all of that. Part of the reason is, this is the first year that there's been really any stability with the Coyotes since the team moved there from Winnipeg. It's been 7 or 8 years of, we're going to get sold, is Balsillie going to move us? We're going to get sold, are we going to Kansas City? We're getting sold, now we're moving to Seattle. As a fan, would you have come back every year knowing that the team might have left?
No, you could never establish anything with those fans. And the ones that were dedicated, kudos to them, because I certainly wouldn't want to go through that every year. It was I went through that once as a Devils fan, where in '95 when they won the Cup, the entire Cup run was tainted by rumors that they were going to leave for Nashville. And so the entire time, as a Devils fan, you're like, this is really exciting. We're about to win our Stanley Cup, our last Stanley Cup. And you're like, this sucks. So the idea that they were going through that every single season is psychologically damaging. The one thing that I'll miss, though, out of this process, insofar as the Coyotes now having owners, we no longer have to go through the rigmarole every few months of a new guy coming in and getting vetted by the city council, is the Glendale City Council meetings. You know, here on the East Coast, I would have to stay up till upwards of like 3 a.m. watching a bunch of Nimrod yokels whose brains have been fried because they live in the American Southwest, standing before the Jedi Council and talking about how can we have a hockey team and give them money when my trash can doesn't have a cover? I'm going to miss that.
Yeah, I think we all are, honestly.
Yes. That's fantastic. Like, I cannot believe they were public council meetings. Like, how many of the people, what percentage of the people do you think that went to speak at that meeting actually had been to a Coyotes game?
16%.
There was a lot of Coyotes fans there, and they would go up in their jerseys and talk before the council and give these heartfelt speeches. And then, you know, there'd be a guy who'd get up there with like a raccoon puppet. You know, it's a real mix of the two things, and I guess that's what makes local politics local politics. So, Scotty Waz, what was your big takeaway from the summer?
My big summer story is ongoing, and that's the greatness that is the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the whole dealing with their goaltending, their contracts, and just everything in between. Because that's all you hear up here on Sports Talk Radio is just all Maple Leafs everything. Jay Feaster hasn't done jack shit. So there's that too in this city. Where he hasn't done anything except sign every European goaltender he could that may have had an inkling of NHL experience, because the Carey Ramo era is about to begin, kids. So strap in and hope for the best.
Yeah, I've seen him on YouTube a few times from the KHL. Scary stuff.
Yeah,
the Kadri thing with Toronto is kind of fascinating because, like, I feel like Kadri looks around the league and sees guys like Henrique getting paid, and saw what Subban did last year, where he's got this contract dispute and he sits out camp and part of the season and then gets that bridge contract and stuff. And I think he's sort of deluded by all of this into thinking that he has any semblance of negotiating advantage against Toronto in this. And, like, he doesn't. He's got nowhere to go. No one's going to offer sheet him. He's got not even a full season as an elite player, but a half a season and a lockout season. He disappeared at the end of that season, and he doesn't have the body of work that Subban had. Subban had two full NHL seasons before he signed that contract with that 2-year deal as a restricted free agent. So, and plus the other thing is that the Leafs don't have cap space because the cap dropped. And they only have like $5 million for both him and Franzen. So I feel for him because, in theory, the season that he had last year, nearly point per game, being mentioned in the Hart Trophy race as late as like April, like, should grease the skids for him to get a really nice contract, but probably not the contract he thinks he's going to get or he will end up getting.
And let's be honest, in theory, communism worked as well. So we really can't go this whole in theory stuff for a guy who just goes ahead. Hey, you know what? I'm the guy everyone's talking about. This big guy in a picnic costume or sofa costume. I don't know what he's going to be this week. Is pumping my tires like nothing else. And
right.
And now I'm going to get a big deal. Oh wait, what? There's only $6 left in the tank. I want 4,000.
We're getting closer and closer to Godwin's Law every single time. Every single time on the show, we're getting closer. I mean, communism a little bit closer to Hitler than we were before. So.
Yep. Wiles will eventually reference Iron Sky, the space Nazi movie.
Well, see, no, my gimmick now is referencing Sports Night, which we did earlier with the unfortunate rhyme scheme, because I still think that's Aaron Sorkin's best work. And that's because I stopped watching after Sports Night and haven't watched anything else.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the law of diminishing returns. The newsroom is fantastic because it does continue the Aaron Sorkin tradition of this conversation. I'm saying something to you. Well, I'm saying something to you. Well, I'm saying something to you louder. Well, I'm saying something to you even louder. Well, now I'm really saying something louder. And then we both stop, and I scream out the truth.
All while walking. And then they walk. When camera shot, everyone applauds.
I know people have kind of been kinder to the newsroom in season 2, but I still watch the hell out of that show. It's so annoying.
I feel like the guy that looks like Ruxin that's on Sports Night was the king of that. Like, but I'm going to say something louder, and then everyone's going to shut up.
Right, and everybody stops talking, and then that you realize, wow, that's amazing.
Deep.
The newsroom does have this amazing narrative conceit, though, that like it's based on things that have happened, but it takes place well after the. I mean, it's stuff in the past, right? So like. You have this amazing ability to have these characters be perfect. Can you imagine a story about your life, but you know everything that's already happened, and you're just going to go back and retcon everything and be like, I never crashed that car because I wasn't drunk.
Well, that's how I'm doing my movie. It's revisionist history. And it works
whoa, Scotty, you got to write the book first. You got to write the book first.
I'm on book 16 of 42.
It's called Scotty Loves Scarlett Johansson, How a Man Became King of England and Bedded the Hottest Girl in the World.
And it's weird because I actually do have videography of all of that. It's the oddest, weirdest thing.
No Photoshop, no camera tricks.
No. I hear, spoiler alert, a new episode of the Newsroom is where Jeff Daniels' character comes down with a stomach bug and has to be stuck in a bathroom. Wait, no, that was Dumb and Dumber.
I've seen advanced footage of that. Yeah.
Actually, it's a very sad episode. Newsman Will McAvoy, parentheses Jeff Daniels, goes into a house to check out if there's a bomb inside, and the house blows up.
Aww.
And it makes Keanu Reeves very, very sad on that very fast bus.
Whoa. Just every Keanu Reeves thing ever. You're taking submissions for Photoshop pieces. Am I not correct? Or at least ideas.
I think we're pretty good. This is the 5th year that Puck Daddy's been around.
Wow.
And I think that we've been pretty good with like keeping fresh ideas on the blog. But I will wave the white flag. I'll use this paper towel as a prop. I'll wave the white flag and say that I'm out of ideas for Photoshop contests. Like, some of the ones have happened organically, like the Sidney Crosby Golden Goal and the Gloating Bruins fan, but I'm literally out of ideas for... I have one good idea left, and I'm saving it for awards season, but I don't have any good ideas left for Photoshop contests. I've tried to start them, and they just die on the vine. I don't know. I don't have any good ideas for Photoshop contests anymore.
I think we're at the point on the internet that it's time for something new anyway. The photoshopping has gone far enough, I believe, where you just crop somebody into something else. Unless, I don't know, did somebody do that with Miley Cyrus?
That's a good point, though, because in your Miley Cyrus thing is point taken, because like I saw on Twitter today, someone put a Photoshop of her twerking on, I think it was Ryan Kessler, and like I just saw it, I'm like, of course.
Yeah. Like it's not as shocking as it once was. It's not as like, oh my god, this is amazing. Whoever thought of this is a genius. It's now like, oh well, it was only a matter of time.
That said, there have been some very inventive things. Like I think the most inventive contests that we had, I think the 2 most inventive that we had were the first one, the Gary Bettman Portraits of Heroism contest, where we had some really amazing, like Gary Bettman as Superman and things like that.
Go for it.
And then the other one, the Gloating Bruins fan one was so fantastic.
Yep, that was awesome.
Yeah, it took a kid out of the front row of the game with his tongue hanging out and waving the towel, and then put him in all sorts of scenes. And that was like one where you're like, the creativity behind it was amazing. Like the one that I'll always go back to as one of the single most inventive and creative things I've ever seen was someone put a Bruins fan waving a rally towel and sticking his tongue out at the Salem witch trial.
Yeah.
This is like,
that one was good. That one stuck out.
It's like how do you even know to do that? I don't know. That was really amazing.
Well, he got a reaction, right? That's the whole point.
It's like, woo, burner.
Yes. Like everyone thinks, oh, that's an awesome picture, and then they put it in other awesome things, and you're like, holy shit, that was amazing. But I feel like where this like meme, I always forget. I don't know how to pronounce that.
It's a meme.
Meme. That's what I always thought. I should be saying, and then
Yeah,
other people say Mimi.
Mimis are women with a lot of makeup who say mean things to Drew Carey.
Yes, absolutely. Well, then it's not a Mimi.
No.
But anyway, like the whole Miley Cyrus thing was shocking in and of itself. So her twerking on things doesn't really make. It's not really like, oh, yep, all right, fair enough.
Well, and the thing is that it's all derivative of things that have already happened. Like, for example, like if you put Miley Cyrus twerking on something, you're basically just doing the. Well, who is it? Was it Terrell Owens or Randy Moss that put his butt on the
Randy Moss?
Randy Moss, yeah. You're just doing the Randy Moss putting his butt on things meme over.
Yeah.
So essentially, memes have become Katy Perry songs, completely derivative and ripping off things that already exist,
And
in
the
the
very
hopes that
top
they'll
heavy.
catch on.
Yeah, but they're also where they differ is that she's still really attractive, whereas Miley Cyrus is not.
Well, we can go to the mattresses on that, sir, because I find Miley Cyrus to be adorable, and I found no issue with anything that she did.
Let's be honest. Greg only likes Miley Cyrus for the Billy Ray Cyrus catalog he'll inherit after he passes on.
Well, that, and also, like, I imagine, I mean, the thing is that no one really takes time to think about how hard it was for her to grow up living a double life. I mean, she was a normal girl, but she was also
That was Kim Possible. That was Kim Possible.
Loved. And
Or
like,
the
how
Alex
hard,
Mack.
right, but how hard was it to keep what wig to wear straight? You know, like, oh, she's so screwed up now. Well, you try living a double life your entire childhood.
You're right. I mean, look, I totally get the fact that like that we could go on and on about like the child celebrity thing about how like 80% of them turned out fucked up, but I mean, the fact of the matter is that it's not necessarily. We shouldn't be blaming Disney or the industry for how she turned out. Like somebody could have stopped her at some point and been like, "You look ridiculous right now."
But in hindsight, she didn't have the best of both worlds. I think we all agree on that. She did not at all.
In the end, is she your number one Disney girl of all time?
Me?
I think. Well, she. I mean, the prototype for all of this was Hilary Duff, pretty much, right? Like she is
discounting all the Mickey Mouse Club kids.
Modern era. Like Hilary Duff had the actress songstress thing, right? Like first, maybe.
Kind of, I think, a little bit.
Because none of the Saved by the Bell girls had musical careers. Melissa Joan Hart, if she ever sang, I imagine would sound like Louis Armstrong. So she never had.
I thought she had that crazy song.
What song?
She was the movie they were promoting. She was in the video for Britney Spears.
Yeah, Britney Spears had the crazy song. She was just her and Adrienne Grenier from Entourage were in the video. For
That's right.
Right.
And he doesn't look a day over 46 in that one.
Mandy Moore was part of that crew.
But was she? But she wasn't. Was
she didn't have her own show. No,
she was an actress.
She didn't have her TV.
No, she was a singer who became an actress.
Yes.
She was amazing in Aquaman.
Oh, fantastic in Aquaman. I'm surprised they didn't do Aquaman too.
Well, yeah, it made $130 million in that weekend where there was a blackout in California and Vinny was at the house party.
Absolutely.
I think Hilary Duff was probably the prototype, and then it all trickled down. Favorite Disney songstress? I would probably be Miley Cyrus, I suppose. I mean, the thing about it, like, again, I will defer to her because she had a really tough life as living a double life, and she didn't have the advantages that someone like Selena Gomez has, where she can just like cast a spell and get a number one hit. I mean, that's kind of unfair if you think about it, allowing a wizard to become a songstress as well.
Very true, very true. Mark, your number one Disney girl?
My number one Disney girl is, I mean, I'm going to have to go way back. I mean, maybe you're not going to count this, Craig, because it goes so far back. But
Annette Funicello?
Yeah, I mean, way back in the day. I'm talking like whoever Steamboat Willie hooked up with is who I'm talking about. So, I'm looking at I think Christina Aguilera has been. She had those couple years where she was a little crazy and a little out there. But I think ultimately over the course of someone's entire career, that Christina Aguilera wound up being the most sane and successful consistently of all of them. And now I realize the jury's still out on Selena Gomez, but I expect something to happen pretty soon with her.
Wow.
Now, I just want to point out that you referred to a woman who changed her name to X-Tina as a sane person.
That was only like 3 years or 4 years where she was absolutely batshit crazy. But then after that, fine, no problem.
True.
And you always know the pitch she's doing because she does that whole movement thing, so that's always nice as well.
And even
hold on.
Even the fact that this is an argument that you're sort of like, okay, all right, I see what you're saying there.
But I need to cut in here for a second, because if we're going to go back to the shitty Mickey Mouse Club that no one actually watched, but we all know exists because it made all these stars happen.
Yeah.
Wouldn't Britney Spears be the one that trumps all?
No, because she's still crazy. I feel like that has now, she hasn't had that return to glory yet. And I feel like you're going to need that if you're going to be brought into the conversation of the greatest ever.
Good point. I will defer to my story of senior prom for my favorite Disney girl, and Mark, you know this one.
Yep.
I
helped you write that letter.
You did. It was really, really great. It was a team effort. Ren Stevens, Christy Carlson Romano, is my all-time girl. A little conservative girl, and then she was in Bodies 2, where she had a full frontal scene and had a boob job done, and just sealed the deal for me. Years after, I wrote her a letter asking her to go to senior prom with me because I was pathetic. So she will always be top on the list, and there we go. Away we go with that.
Would you have rather gone to prom with Christy Romano from Even Stevens or Christy Romano from Bodies 2?
Well, obviously Bodies 2. Let's not. What are we doing here? Splitting hairs? Let's do this.
The answer, as always, is Shia LaBeouf.
Of course, he'll cameo in anything. It's great. Came with his big robotic car. It was the weirdest prom ever. I'm pretty sure I was high on that night too. I'm not really. Don't really know.
I've never been compelled to ask a celebrity if they would hang out with me.
I've done it twice.
Yeah. Oh, what's the other time?
Avril Lavigne in junior prom. This is when she hit the scene. Then I realized, hey, this might be illegal. But I didn't really think of that. I was 17. I'm like, they won't catch me. She's Canadian anyway. It works out perfect.
Yeah.
The laws up there, they don't really
count. Well, she's dating Nickelback now, so what does that really say for anything? Poor bastard.
Sounds pretty complicated.
Yeah.
So if there was getting back to Photoshop, if people made a string of Photoshop pictures of Miley Cyrus twerking on Kanye West telling people to hold up because I'm going to let you finish,
right,
and then going back to the Boston towel waving guy, would that break the internet?
It's possible. It's entirely possible it might.
Right.
Well,
but I've been thinking about what the next stage would be, and I wish we could move forward and do song parody contests or video mini movie contests and stuff.
Why can't you?
Because I don't know,
people are that talented
people out there that would do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I think there's enough jackasses with webcams that'll do it.
Us
included.
The moment I think about doing a song parody contest, all I think about is Harrison Mooney entering 10 times under different names.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really broken the mold for that. You can't really do song parodies anymore. You can do little kids in suits doing inspirational speeches. Wait, that's been done too.
Maybe I'll do a song parody contest. I don't know. I've always, I've had many. There are three dreams I've had for the blog that I hope will one day come to fruition, and I think they could. The first is I want to get a table at the NHL All-Star Game Fan Fest, and have a terrible former player signing autographs. Just someone who's just terrible. Someone who's like a minus 105 for their career. I don't know who would fit that bill. Like Enrico Ciccone or somebody. I want someone like that.
Kevin Kaminsky, everybody.
Right, exactly. So that's the first
thing. Get Rico Fata out there while you're at
it. The second thing is I want to do a Puck Daddy Film Festival one day, but I don't know first thing about that. I would need someone who's smarter than me and more connected than me to pull that together, and I'll host it.
I could get you in touch with a guy.
You should do that. And then the third thing, and this will actually happen, is I want to have a Merrick vs. Wyshynski live show, which will just be 2 hours of drunken game shows, and that's all I want. And I want to. One of the things we'll do is the hockey feud, because I've been dying to play hockey feud for a very, very long time, and it'll happen. So this season might be the season when we finally do the live show, and then just do.
We sure as shit better get an invite to that.
We will. I mean, it'll be. there's
You're
two
stealing
games
our bit. The
I
least
want to
we can
play.
do there.
I want to play Hockey Feud, and then I want to play that game that's a complete rip-off of VH1's World Series of Pop Culture, where we did it with the Charlotte Hornets just before. You pick a team, and you just go around and around and around until nobody has a player they can name. So like the whatever the '97. Who won in '97? Detroit, right? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's 97 Red Wings, and then you go around until someone can't name them anymore.
Exactly. But then the '98 Red Wings, you only have to count the guys who are walking.
Right. Exactly.
So I apologize. That was a little low blow, but he can't feel it anyway. He can't feel it. It's fine.
Jesus.
I was going to let that go.
Leave it to you.
Point out what
Leave it to you.
And then you actually double back and call it a low blow. Which is
Even worse.
even worse. Did you guys see that I took so much copious amounts of shit on Twitter today for making a Dave Steckel fertility joke?
Yeah, and I, for one, was very happy you made it for the fact that it shows the idiots that are actually showing up and take that seriously.
Did you see my joke, Mark?
I did not, actually. I'm the worst as far as Twitter's concerned. But then again, I work in a closed, communicationless area most of the day, so I'm sorry.
So Dave Steckel did an interview with the Washington Post in which he told this harrowing story about his battle with infertility with his wife, and went into how they remedied it, and $20,000 treatments, and she had a miscarriage, and they finally had a beautiful child in 2010. And so the tweet that I wrote, and I workshopped this joke with some Yahoo people to make sure it wasn't completely offensive. The tweet that I wrote was something along the lines of how ironic that Dave Steckel didn't know, or was how ironic that Dave Steckel had a struggle with infertility, or had
bringing a kid into this world.
Had a struggle with bringing a kid into this world because he showed us all how you take a kid, capital K, out.
Oh.
Crosby thing.
Yes.
And it's a
Ouch.
It's a terrible line. It's a terrible.
It's like a dad line.
And you really did that to just get all the comments that you could have from Pittsburgh fans.
No, that's just it. It's a completely tasteless joke, and the thrust of the joke is clearly Dave Steckel intentionally concussed Sidney Crosby.
Yes.
So what happened was, as Waz is referencing, all of a sudden it becomes, a dozen people going, yeah, miscarriage is really funny. I'm just but I didn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is.
Everybody always gets pissed off at everything, Greg. I mean,
that was the best.
You out of anybody should know.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was the best though. Some guy tried to shit on me on Twitter about the joke and tried to be sarcastic, and he's like, "Yeah, miscarriages are really funny usually." And I'm like, "Wait, you said usually? Does that mean?"
There are times when they're not funny. And there are times when they're hilarious. Let's be honest.
I obviously wasn't trying to make fun of her having a miscarriage or anything of that nature. I mean, let's just be honest.
Right.
So.
I also like the subject matter.
It's just, I've.
Uh-oh.
Where did he go?
I don't know. He just went into a vortex.
Ah.
But anyway, I like the thing that you cited about what black people do.
God, the Twitter hashtag what black people do.
Yeah, that's the greatest thing ever.
No, the greatest thing ever was Rejected Yankee Candles, which was on Twitter earlier this week, which was like a Photoshop expo, and people had child's tears, asparagus pea.
Well, here's the funny thing. With the invention of the Yankee Candle mandals...
The man candles?
Yes, they could have those in production by the end of the year.
Yeah, I didn't know how to deal with that, actually. I thought that was a little strange.
The mandal? They're great.
Mandal, yeah.
They're great. They have man cave. And
it's like bacon, right? There's fresh cooked bacon or whatever.
Bacon and gridiron, I think, is another one where it smells like a football locker room in your house, which I thought.
And Mantown.
Yeah, Mantown was the other one.
Whatever it's called.
Mantown, which we refer to as Pound Town, which I think was the club that was next to our hotel. I'm not really sure. Or at least in Vancouver it was. It was really weird. They said that the tranny show would be wrapping up soon, and we just went up to our room. It was really a great time. But yeah, no, that's Yankee Candle. Whatever happened to those guys?
They're still around. I still go to the mall and stick my nose in candles and smell what a birthday cake smells like, but different.
Then you could just go down to the bakery and just smell a birthday cake.
No, but this is in candle form.
Well, I'm pretty sure with the amount of Play-Doh they put on those cakes nowadays, it smells like wax.
I used to pretend that the way they do that is like they'll go to a bakery, they'll go near the cake, they'll trap the smell in a glass container and then somehow fill it with wax afterwards. Like,
so much like you capture a fart as a child?
Yes. Like,
yes.
They send a fleet of people out at midnight on a beach and just go around with glass containers capturing all the smells and then fill them with wax later.
You could always go and find the smells of like cinnamon and jasmine and everything, but they can kick you out of the strip club later.
Ah! Look at him go. Look at Mark with the big zing. And I don't think we can leave on a higher note than that.
Well,
yeah, we will leave with a stripper joke, as we are to do. If you people don't remember the Montreal show, good, because neither do we.
I actually have that like here. Like,
what?
I actually found when I was moving, because I just moved into this place, I found the Montreal DVD.
Well, it's up on YouTube, so.
Oh, well, I found the DVD then, so screw you.
That was before? Wait, the show was before the club, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
The show was when we got really, really sloshed up for 3 hours.
Right.
And then after that, we met at that.
After that, some of us went and smoked cigars and put them out on the whose statue was it?
Maurice Richard.
Maurice Richard statue. Oh no, it was Jean Beliveau.
Yes.
Jean Beliveau statue, and then others who will remain unnamed went to Club Super Sex.
John and I did not go to Club Super Sex.
Yeah,
we
bailed after Peel's Pub because you went 32-ounce rum and cokes in the big picture.
That's right.
And I have a picture of Greg and Mark just holding their things, just all proud and ready to go.
Yeah, that was a good picture.
That was a really wonderful bar.
Yeah, it was.
That's not sarcastic at all. It's a wonderful bar.
Well, no, it was a terrible bar, but like any place that gives you copious amounts of rum and coke like that in your own pitcher, I mean, honestly.
$5 rum and cokes in pitchers.
Little baby pitchers, yeah.
And it was $5 Canadian, and at the time, that was way less than $5 American.
And it had hockey on it.
It's great. It was like the personal pan pizza of alcohol.
Yeah. Except you didn't have to be a good reader. You just had to have something that had your name on it. Although technically that was sort of the same as Pizza Hut because
essentially, yeah,
I could have forged a report card and gotten a $5 pan pizza just as easily.
Just ask your mom, hey, can I have $5? All right, I'm going to give you a pan pizza. Simply, it works that way too.
Indeed.
All right. Anything you need to plug, Mr. Wyshynski?
Yeah, the Merrick versus Wyshynski podcast comes back September 16th.
Yay!
Everybody's. I mean, it's flattery when people ask you when it's coming back. It becomes uncomfortable when you start getting messages when the calendar turns to September and people are like, "Where's the show? You said the show was coming back. How come it's not back yet?"
Funny that Leahy said that to us back in the day when we didn't put 6 months worth of shows up. Where's the show? You said there was going to be a show, and now that it goes up every week, no one cares about us.
Yeah, but that's. I mean, I've always suspected he has a touch of the Asperger's, and like I think that. You know, like the show was part of his routine, and his routine wasn't the same, and he didn't know how to process it.
Yeah, I tell you what, I just love those jokes 3 months later after we said them. We have to go back and figure out what we said.
Yeah.
He is an Asperger.
I do miss that. I do miss having to go back and re-listen to the shows when he gets the joke and then tweets us about the joke and how he thought it was funny. And then we have to go back and be like, well, I don't remember.
He like binge listens to the show and he
when the old producer used to put up the shows, it was like every 3 months he'd put up the 3 months worth of shows, and then like something from February he would relay to us in May, and we had to. All right, I'm like, wait a minute.
I'd go back to Scotty, like I don't even remember saying that, like and it was funny, like that's awesome.
He's getting on Twitter. He's like, when you guys said that Vinny Le Cavalier was your favorite kind of donut, what did you mean by that?
My best line was from the draft show this year, saying that where's Leahy at? And I said, oh, he's right here, and I just pointed to a thing of white sheets. And then
Not a racist thing, just because he's pale.
no, it was racist and his pale color. So
He stayed over at my place during U.S. camp. That was fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is it everything that's cracked up to be and more?
I'll tell this story. I haven't told this story to almost any. This is not a public story, but I'll tell it now.
Well, it is now.
now it is.
Well, wait a minute. This is our show. It's really not. Go ahead.
He was staying. My daughter was staying here when he was staying here, and he's got a kid too, so he's like tired all the time and shit. So he crashed out on my couch at like 8:00 at night, and so she's still awake, and she's like, "What's Uncle Sean doing?" Because Uncle Sean.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's sleeping. I'm like, should we wake him up? She's like, yeah. So she then uses every single toy instrument she has in an attempt to wake him up. Cymbals, drums, a trumpet, maracas.
Are you starting a ska band?
And nothing worked. He just laid there. And she actually, every time she'd do it, she would like play the trumpet. She'd get it right up to his face and go, grrr! And he wouldn't move because he was sacked out, and she would go, and then she'd try something new. She went through all of her instruments and nothing worked, and that big load wouldn't move. And she finally quit.
That sounds exactly like Leahy's baby's mama said to him. He just won't move. I don't know what's wrong with him.
Oh.
What? I'm just saying the truth.
Jesus.
I already made him saying that he should have been the very white noise in Brent Seabrook's head when trying to think of a baby name. I went with Soda, and he went with Seven. Oh, it's great bashing. But especially when he's not here to defend himself. It's the best.
That's right.
That's how we do things. Just knock people from behind, which is why I
from behind.
Yeah, take from behind.
All right.
All right. Well, Greg, we appreciate you joining us on this Google, the fine hangout. Do you like the hangout? Do you like this whole mode of transportation now?
Well, it didn't fail, so it's better than Skype already.
Well,
sure, it's
technically,
fine.
I was on delay for a little bit, but it always catches back up with itself.
When is Yahoo Plus coming?
When is it's coming around. I mean,
The redesign of the website is great, by the way.
Thank you. I don't appreciate Google feeling the need to use some symbol after its name. I mean, obviously we've cornered the market on exclamation points. I guess they had to settle for an addition symbol. But yeah.
Just wait until Lycos ampersand comes out, and then search engine wars are really going to heat up.
Alta Vista semicolon.
Right. Pretty soon we'll see Rocket Mail tilde coming back. That's when you know we're done here.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, goodness gracious. Greg, thank you again, sir, and enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, boys. Back to tilapia.
Yay, tilapia!
Enjoy.
Bye.
Greg. There he goes. Greg Wyshynski. He is from the Puck Daddy. He is from the Wyshynski, Merrick versus Wyshynski. An all-around great guy, Greg Wyshynski. So yeah, I should get our other guy on here, shouldn't I?
Yeah. Did you